Check out the silver light. Yep, we are live. So, let's do our intro.
I think we can go ahead and get started here, kick things off. How you feeling there, Brian?
Oh, yeah. I think anybody who is here early or on time, definitely we shouldn't make them wait.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's filtering in later.
Let's go ahead and kick it off. All right. So today we have the privilege of having the founder and creator of Utherverse on today, Brian Shuster. He's the original Metaverse creator, which was it's been live for 18 years and still going today. This is a really big time in history for the progression of the internet, as Utherverse is set to launch a new Web3 platform, including Xeon browser. It's the first of its kind. It's a Web 3D browser if you're first time hearing this stuff. And our closed beta is going live September 26th, and we're with the founder right now. So we're going to ask him some questions today, and after we're done, we'll bring some of the audience members up that have some pertinent questions. But make sure you stick around to the end, as we'll be announcing some very big stuff and how you can get whitelisted to the closed beta. All right, Brian, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm grateful for everybody who's here today, and this is really important for me too, to hear what kind of questions people in our community have, so that I know how well we're communicating, or how well we're messaging, what really needs to be answered still. So this is a really important feature, and I appreciate you hosting me on this Twitter space.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. And as you know, we have one right now, but I'll kind of preface this whole thing with one question to get you kicked off, and then we'll bring people in. So just for the newcomers and everyone that's been around. So I know most of us have been around, but I'm just going to ask you, Brian, how did Otherverse come to be, and how did you find yourself at the forefront of this technology?
Yeah, so I mean, this really goes back. Otherverse was kind of a continuation of all of my internet pioneering days, let's say. So I started on the internet back in the early mid 90s, and have had multiple successive generations where we worked on technology and we worked on improving the capabilities of the web. When I was decompressing in the late 90s, from all of the work, I used to play one of the first massively multi-user online role-playing games, which was called Asheron's Call. And the short version of that story, Asheron's Call, I'm out questing with a quest party, and it was all made up of guys. Lady came by, wanted to join the party. You've heard me tell this story, Jake.
Sure.
And the quest was over. It all became flirting and chatting, and it dawned on me that the technology for massively multi-user games really was going to evolve into the next generation of the web, the final generation of the web. It had so much more potential than just a role-playing game. It really had the potential to be a synchronous form of communication that was fully immersive. I could imagine virtual reality coming about. And my late partner Ray Schwartz and I spent about a year brainstorming, planning, figuring out how we could, what the endpoint really looked like, which is Web3, full immersive metaverse technology, and how do we get from here to there, which is the flat web, really mostly end of Web 1, beginning of Web 2. How do we get all the way to Web 3? And that was the genesis of the concept. I brought in teams, I had a bunch of development teams that were working on flat web stuff, Web 2 stuff, and refocused them on creating the first metaverse. So after a couple of years of work, we had tested out for commercial viability. And once we realized that it was already commercially viable, even in the early 2000s, to have this type of metaverse, what we were calling the virtual world web back then, to have virtual world web platform, we went full bore, developed what is now called Utherverse Classic, and we launched that 18 and a half years ago, and it's still going strong.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, great preface. So, okay, so let's just kick right into this. Let's just get started. It looks like we have one request so far. If you guys have requests and you're listening, please do request. This is about get farming as many questions as possible to Brian, and he's very open to getting your feedback and your questions. So I'm gonna get Rick Davis up here right now. Give it 1 sec, Rick. It's connecting you, and then we'll get you on here. 1 second. Looks like it's connecting here.
Yeah, he might be stuck in a connecting loop. Hey, Rick, if you're still here and you can hear us, drop down and request again, and we'll bring you back up and you can ask your question. In the meantime, if anyone else in the audience has a question or some feedback for Brian, feel free to come on up and request to join, and we'll bring you up here, and we'd love to have you as part of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, I have a couple of questions here while we're waiting from that we
Sure.
farmed here from the community, and about a year ago we launched the first FNFT, and I know a lot of people have been asking what FNFTs are, and that's been a big part of what we're doing is explaining to them what FNFTs are, and you're the brainchild behind that. That not even coining that term, but when I got started with you came to me and you said to me like, look. NFTs are not new. We've been making these things for over a decade now, and I guess the question is, what at the beginning of that, what exactly did that look like to you? What was an NFT at the beginning? What did you call it?
Yeah, well, I mean, NFT has a little bit of a different flavor from what we were doing back 15, 16 years and since then. We, of course, describe them as virtual goods, virtual items. So NFTs take a lot of different forms, but to the extent that we're talking about a digital good, we've certainly been in that space for a very long time, allowing people to create these art pieces, allowing people to create fashion, and to be able to sell them on our classic platform. So the blockchain component of NFTs is what really separates them from what we were describing as virtual goods. I think that virtual goods merged with NFTs, they're sort of the two parents that their offspring is FNFTs, which are functional non-fungible tokens. And not to scare anybody off with that kind of terminology, but a non-fungible token, an NFT, just is potentially a piece of art. I've always had difficulty assigning true value. I mean, I hate to say that you heard me, Jake, talking about my lack of faith that NFTs were going to be able to hold value.
Yep.
In the classic and traditional sense, and this was back when they were riding really high. And so, you look at a piece of art like the Mona Lisa, and then you look at copies of the Mona Lisa. And the original has its value, even though the copies can be absolutely identical in every respect, except they weren't touched by Da Vinci, right?
Sure.
Wait. So it's the if you were able to have an exact duplicate copy, for something that is indistinguishable, let's say when you display it on your phone, when you display it on your screen,
Sure.
then it lacks that the artist has actually touched the canvas. The artist has actually done this. With an FNFT, it obtains its original value because it has a function. And this sort of goes to my vision of Web3, where I see Metaverse as being the central component of Web3. Once Metaverse is fully operational, once we've gone live through our beta and we are open, our Metaverse gives traction to all the NFT projects, to all of the cryptocurrency projects, because they become a necessary component. You have a digital life, and in that digital life lives digital art, lives digital fashion, lives your apartment, your business, your friends, the events, and all of these things that live in the digital world are virtual goods and virtual services. The rarity of those, and the most rare of those, will be the functional non-fungible tokens. And that's where you will still have virtual goods which don't necessarily live on the blockchain. If I want to create a blue t-shirt, I may not want to say, well, this is an FNFT of a blue t-shirt. I may want to say anybody who wants to buy this t-shirt can have an exact copy. And in that sense, they're all fungible, and they don't need to live on a blockchain. But if I'm a fashion designer and I want to say I have a limited set of this item of fashion, or these are all slightly different, that's where you'll have an FNFT. They'll function in the metaverse, but copies of them will not function. And because copies of them won't function, that gives a uniqueness that you can't really get with a traditional NFT. So
very well.
I hope that all made sense.
Yeah, that sure did. That speaks to it more, very eloquent and way more in depth than we've been able to thus far. So very good, very good. I have a few more here, but you guys, I just want to create a call to action. I'm going to ask a couple more questions that have been farmed from the Discord here. But if you want to ask anything, please feel free. Request to speak. We want to bring.
I think, Jake, we might be losing you. Yep. All right, guys. Well, I don't know what happened there to Jake and Brian, but I'm hoping everyone can still hear me. If you can, if Jake and Brian could rejoin, that would be great. Okay, I'm getting some hundreds in the crowd, so I think you guys can still hear me. Okay, Brian's requesting. Add as speaker. Brian, can you hear me, sir? Oh, wait, there he is.
Can you hear me?
Brian. Yes, I don't know what happened. You and Jake both got rugged at the same time.
Yeah, well, Jake getting rugged, I think, rugged me. I could still hear you the whole time.
Okay, good. All right, we're still alive. The space is living. The space has not been rugged. Brian and Jake are back on the stage.
Wonderful.
Happy to have you. Okay,
wow.
Great. I was worried there.
Me too. Yeah,
that was weird.
We're filling this thing up, crashing it real quick. Okay, so let's let's get right back to it. So if anyone has any questions, we're gonna let anyone that wants to come up and speak with Brian to come up. In the meantime, I do have some questions here farmed for Brian from the community. So if you guys haven't yet, if you're not aware, we have what's called Xeon Browser, and a lot of people have been asking about Xeon Browser, and because it's such a new concept, what exactly, in Brian, in your terms, what is Xeon Browser?
So this again goes back to my early days on the internet, back when there wasn't really where the internet existed, but the web itself didn't. So the internet was made up of a bunch of different components, news groups and Usenet and FTP and email, all living as separate applications, basically. And then along comes the Mosaic browser, and all of a sudden there's a standardized browser that unifies all of these different protocols under one roof. All of these applications become available, and you have the birth of the World Wide Web. So, as a student of history, particularly technology history, and was a communications major in college, and, I had the fortune at UCLA to be able to learn about up and coming technologies and got introduced to email and this type of thing in the early 90s. Um, I saw lots and lots of problems. You had America Online, you had CompuServe, and then you had this competing World Wide Web that was unified by a browser. And people from CompuServe and people from America Online, they lived in what we called walled gardens, where they really couldn't access the web. Of course, the free market always wins out. And because the web was available for everybody, and anybody could browse all of it, the walled gardens died off. They ended up, having to accommodate the web and introducing or utilizing browser technology. We looked at Metaverse when we were conceiving of Xeon and our fourth generation software. We looked at this and we said, there's lots of entities and there's lots of projects that call themselves Metaverse, but they are all incompatible. They all operate on their own protocols. What we wanted to do is create a single browser that anybody who uses our protocol system, anybody who uses our tool set, could, as easily as they could build a website that connects to the internet, to the web, they could build their own metaverse. And that metaverse would be interoperable. It would interconnect. We could give them a unique domain name. People could landmark these locations. You'd have search, and you could search all of the metaverses for any kind of offering that exists anywhere. And all of this interconnected. We are looking to have it be backwards compatible so that you can also open tabs for the flat web. Of course, that's not in our beta, but the concept and the tech spec for Xeon ultimately is to create a platform upon which any interested party can create their own metaverse. These metaverses all interoperate, and in this way, sort of recapitulate the successful pattern of history that we saw on the internet. So it's really an immersive browser. It's going to be, cross-platform. So you'll have a Xeon application for your mobile or your iPad or your tablet, for your computer, for your VR headset if you have one. Eventually, most people will. And you use the various different browsers to access the metaverse for various different reasons. And it'll all be simple, right, is the concept. So basically to pull all of it together in one place and operate as a platform to empower the success of anybody that's looking to get into the metaverse space, to make it easy and lift all boats.
Amazing. We did have a question come in from a crowd member. Shout out Richard. I see you down there. He submitted it via text as a reply here on Twitter. If you guys do want to come up here and speak with us and Brian and ask your questions over the microphone, I promise none of us bite, and we're happy to have you up here. But I'll go ahead and ask Richard's question, which is, what would constitute a good username or business name in the metaverse, and what do they look like?
Yeah, so that's that's going to be a good question. I'll tell you this story. So back, even after I had started on the internet, when I was in college, there's a whole backstory to this, but I became an internationally syndicated newspaper cartoonist, and my comic Chaos. When Gary Larson retired, I replaced him in a bunch of newspapers, and my comic ran for more than a decade. And when the web, was starting to become popular, let's say, really at the very early stages of it, I registered a domain for me to promote my comic in markets where it wasn't running in the newspaper. I wanted people to be able to see it. And I looked for comic.com, and somebody had registered it already. And I was really beside myself that, God, I can't have comic.com. So I ended up registering, in a very depressed way. I ended up registering comicstrip.com, and I ran, a daily panel on comicstrip.com. And of course, it turns out comicstrip.com became insanely valuable. I ended up selling it when I retired from cartooning. But my idea of what was a good domain name back at the early days of the internet compared to what was a good domain name 10 years later, it's true. Comic.com was more valuable. Comicstrip.com, not bad. So, what would be a good username? What would be a good business name? I mean, generally, I would say look back at the history of domain names. Right now, there's such a wide open field that I would be picking up, descriptive, relatively short names. Of course, we're going to open up domain name registration on our VWW protocol. And at that point, it will really be similar to domain names. So, you want to get things that are descriptive, that are easy to remember. But I expect that we're going to see a new renaissance in naming, because just like the web, when the metaverse blows up and you get millions of users a month joining, and then tens of millions, and you have a few billion people on the platform, geez, I mean, just about any name that you register, I think, is going to have a lot of value.
Love it. That's wonderful feedback. And Jake, if you don't mind, I have another crowd question that came in.
Absolutely. I just saw that. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. This one's from Salem. Username on Twitter is @OneMagicBean. So Salem Magic Bean, this one's for you. Salem says, even if not during beta, will user-created character animations be able to be created and sold on the platform? Like, if I created a dance animation in Unity, could I sell it in Utherverse? If so, will some sort of toolkit be available to creators similar to Utherverse Classic?
Oh my God, Magic Bean, what a great question. Thank you. This is exactly the kind of thing that I was hoping I would be asked without even knowing it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the reasons why I created, we tried to launch Curio as third generation unsuccessfully, but why we created Xeon in the fourth generation was because we did not have an animation pipeline into Classic that could enable user-generated animations. Of course, in Xeon, we absolutely, we use the UMA pipeline. So that's the Unity avatar and, really the Unity general art pipeline. And we did that by design so that it would be compatible with, any kind of UMA development. You'll be able to, and again, not in closed beta for sure, probably not until we're in production. But it's designed so that, we're not going to need to have art teams that are creating every possible animation. I really wanted to open up animations for user-generated content, and not just single-player animations, but multi-user, multiplayer animations. I mean, the idea really behind Xeon is you won't even be stuck with the user interface and the UX that we've designed. All of the UX elements are going to be able to be modified. So when someone comes to your metaverse, if you have a metaverse, for example, you can make a metaverse which is, a multiplayer game or a single person shooter. That's going to have a very different kind of user interface than what we're using for our own metaverse. So we've got all of these elements set up so that you will be able to create these experiences, even take a game that you create and interlink it to a game that somebody else creates in kind of a web of games, so that you can have, for example, a multiplayer game where if you want to reward people for, you want to trade traffic. Let's say you want to get more traffic. Somebody could build a fishing game. You could say, well, if you catch a certain number of fish in this game, you can bring them over to our game. You fry up the fish. It gives you plus +2 on your, whatever it is, your attack or, your stamina. And in this way, you don't need to build these massive games. The games themselves can become organic and can grow through these kind of partnerships. And all of that is to say, yes to animations. I'm really excited about seeing animations, and yes to a lot of new kinds of user-generated content that we've spent a lot of time thinking about. What is really the next generation of the web going to look like? And it's not just because it's immersive and because it's a metaverse. It's the whole next generation internet of everything. So I love the question, and absolutely, I can't wait to see what, I've seen some of these UMA pipeline stuff, and I'm just imagining what some of these metaverse worlds are going to look like with, lead figurine painted avatars or elf, forest fantasy avatars. I'm sure I'm going to have my mind blown over the next few years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Salem, I hope that answered your question and more, because I know it did for me. So Brian, you always have an answer no matter what's thrown your way. We really appreciate that. Just wanted to tell the crowd, if you're on a phone, if you're on an Android or iPhone device, you should be able to request to join. Come speak with us. Come be a part of the conversation. And Salem just replied and said it was a fantastic answer. So thank you for that, Salem. And yeah, hit the request button. Join me, Jake, and Brian up here having a conversation, Q&A session. And Jake, I'm going to pass the mic back to you for a minute.
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. So sounds good. So as we wait for people to request up here, we're going to go ahead and make a call to action in the meantime. We're speaking a lot about the Utherverse and the new builds and the Utherverse Web 3D. So if you're not already whitelisted, you don't own a trunk yet, you haven't been informed or let know how you can be involved in this, right now you can go over to our Discord. The link is in the Utherverse bio and the Others bio. Join our Discord, apply to season 2, fill out the form, and we will add you to the whitelist. And that will be in order from how we have it set up. But once you get set up there, our team will get back to you and give you all the details on that, how you can get involved and how you can be a part of this revolution.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. We turned on the pre-registration to our existing power users of the Classic system, and in the first 3 seconds, we had already had a couple of dozen people register. So the closed beta is looking pretty full. But it's going to be an exciting time. I think the first couple of weeks of the closed beta, we're looking now at doing fun events that will allow us to test. So doing load test, everybody come out to the dance club and let's all, change clothes on the dance floor or whatever. Give the developers some stuff to work on. Their plan now is on week 3, they're going to have put together the complete list of bugs that they have to that point, and get rid of all of those bugs, do a new build at the end of week 3, and we'll do an update and patch. And then we're going to, from there on, we should have a pretty full events calendar of scheduled events, movie premieres, comedy, karaoke. Obviously, there's shopping, there's NFT galleries, and social dance clubs, DJs. So it's all getting pretty exciting.
Yeah, and there's a casino too, isn't there?
Well, there's a non-functioning casino right now. We've got some people that we're in discussions with, but I don't think people should plan to be doing any gambling during the closed beta.
Sure thing, gotcha. I had to ask because I'll be at the blackjack table as soon as that goes live.
You bet. Well, I'm always cautious. Only gamble what you can afford to lose.
Yep, sure thing. Yep. Yeah, it seems. I'm not sure if the Twitter bug is not allowing people to come up, but and everyone's asking via text, but it seems like everyone's asking via text here. Okay, so then let's just move along. We can ask some more questions farmed from the community, no problem. Internally. So, Brian, it's been live for almost nine. So, Otherverse Classic has been live for almost 19 years now, correct?
Yep.
So, um, it says here the what is so in the last in that time span, what is the average what is the average user base per month since you've started essentially? Because I know it's you guys are the first we're the first metaverse. So it says what's the average of users that we've had?
Well, that's a very challenging question to answer, but I'll answer it this way. We've unofficially we've had more than 50 million users. And that's between us and all of our franchises, because of course we franchised out to 17 different countries.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
Many of those users came in, of course, in the first decade. We had a lot better compatibility, and the rendering engine that we were using, of course, was brand new when we put the thing out to commercial production 18 plus years ago. The rendering engine, the graphic capabilities, and the compatibilities. You know, we were doing this before mobile phones, before smartphones, and tablets. Um, Back when Apple was 32-bit compatible. Since then, it has been impossible to upgrade because you've got. I mean, you know, we make upgrades to the classic system all the time. And so, you know, I love the classic system. It's got so much charm. The community is great. There's lots to do. And, you know, it's really engaging. I suggest, you know, people should really try it out. You know, head over to the classic, but it only runs on a PC computer.
Gotcha.
Apple upgraded to 64-bit. We couldn't make that system backwards compatible and forward compatible to 64-bit. So it's been very challenging to market the classic system, to keep the user base, you know, as high as it was in the first few years. So in the first years, we would, you know, we had hundreds of thousands of active users in our North American operation, in the German franchise, you know, throughout Europe, throughout Latin America. Those numbers have come down quite a bit. Um, Although we, as I say, we still have, you know, many thousands of users that are actively engaged, typically at any given time. But the design of Xeon and this next generation platform, it is designed to be continually upgradable. So we're never going to run into that same problem. We're never going to paint ourselves into a corner again. And, you know, Jake, you and I have discussed a lot about so-called competing metaverses. It's hard for me to say it with a straight face. You know, Decentraland or the Sandbox or Facebook Horizons, right? Where they are making the same kind of mistakes. And I don't want to call them mistakes back when we made them. I mean, we really didn't have a choice. There wasn't the opportunity to be able to look so far forward and realize how the internet was going to grow and change, and you know, all of these new platforms and all of the compatibilities that we've need. But we did, in that sense, paint ourselves into a corner where we just can't become 64-bit. So we're never going to be able to run on Apple again with the classic system. That's not going to happen this time around. So, you know, we will be able to grow and upgrade and continue to be bleeding edge with virtual reality headsets and all the kind of immersive stuff that's coming out moving forward. I expect, honestly, that our platform is, you know, I don't want to set expectation on the closed beta too high, right? I'm super excited about it. I think everybody's going to love it. It's a huge improvement from what we've got on Classic. But we're only going to be activating something like 10 or 15% of the software that we built when we go into closed beta. So there's a whole 2 years of upgrades where, once we've taken one step, we're going to add in additional technologies and additional tools and additional features, and then go take the next step and the next step. And by the time we actively open up our master affiliate program, and by the time we actively open up marketing, I I think we're going to experience the kind of growth that, well, it's hard to imagine comparable um, a comparable technology growth. We're going to be adding millions or tens of millions of users a month, is my expectation, and that becomes exponential because many of those users are going to open their own metaverse. They're going to then be incentivized because of the structure of our master affiliate program. They're going to be incentivized to have their followers, have their fans, friends, customers come in, and each of those people will be incentivized to bring in their followers and fans and friends. Um, and so the growth is going to be very rapid, to the point where I'm expecting that it will be competitive with, it will be the new internet. It'll be the new layer of the internet. I use that term a lot in our materials, but next layer of the internet.
Wow, love it. RC, pretty cool, huh?
Very cool. And I do have I have two questions that kind of feed into each other. So I'm going to ask you one two-pronged question. These came from Julie as well as Perry Vant. So shout out Julie and Perry Vant. So Julie asked, are we going to be able to change our clothes like we can in Classic? And then Perry asked, let me get back to Perry's question here. I want to make and sell clothes in Utherverse. How do I go about this?
Yeah, I love it. Julie, Perry Grant, excellent, excellent. You will be able to change clothes, although in closed beta, in the initial release, there'll be a limited closet. So you'll have access to a bunch of our best clothing items, but it won't be infinite. It won't be extensible. But as we progress, so this is exactly what I ended my last answer with, where we've got all of these tools and features, but we're not going to test them all at once. So we're not opening the first stage of closed beta. We're not opening with a fully customizable closet system or a clothing marketplace. Those tools are there, and they will be integrated in an upcoming patch. But there are there's a simpler kind of user interface that we're using for the first stage of closed beta, where you'll just be able to scroll through various tops and bottoms and outfits and shoes and tattoos and accessories and hairstyles and all of that, and then you'll be able to modify them to a degree, and you'll be able to do body morphing. So you'll be able to make your body look how you want it to, more muscular, more lean, more robust, as you desire. But of course, the big plan, and where things get really exciting, is when we will turn on the marketplace and the pipeline for users to be able to generate clothing. The clothing is quite a bit more advanced than the clothing offerings that we have in the Classic system. So in order to learn how to do that, we're going to be holding classes in Other Academy, and we're going to be holding classes in, obviously the new client, in the education system in the new client. But we'll also put out documentation on our wiki, so that you'll be able to, there'll be all kinds of training videos and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. And the clothing, the features on clothing, I'm sure many of you have seen what we've done with our FNFTs. but you have a lot of opportunity to do things that are really advanced types of materials and reflections and sparkles and even particle effects for clothing if you want. Um, and it's more advanced in the sense that you'll be able to do meshes. So you'll be able to create, again, not at the beginning, you'll be able to add in these different kind of meshes so that you can have different shaped clothing, different layered clothing. Tattoos and piercings, I think, are really neat and huge. Um, so that whole system has been under development for quite a while, and you'll see some of the stuff that our art team was able to produce right from the get-go. And then, you know, I think metaverse fashion is such an amazing arena. Um, we've got we've put together videos of sort of fashion shows, but boy, to be able to have a closet in the metaverse, and then also, you know, see what fashions are you're able to move from metaverse to real world. Um, uh, I definitely, if I was a fashion designer or a clothing designer, would be very excited for what's about to be available. I'll put it that way.
That's great. Thank you, Brian. I'm so stoked that our community members are getting a chance to ask you things that I'm sure have been pressing on their minds for a minute. And yeah, if anyone in the crowd wants to request to join and come up here and speak with us with your microphone, feel free. No pressure, of course. But yeah, how you doing, Jake?
I'm great. I'm just sitting here taking this all in. You know, it's Brian. You have so much experience in this space. It's, you know, I've heard a lot of these answers before, but it's always a different shade, or it's always a different angle that you come at it from. So it's like my understanding every time we do this is becomes much more robust. So it's I'm probably one of the more excited people, you know, that you could possibly be, because I've been seeing this roll out since you know, for about a year now. So I'm
I
excited.
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
You know, I always try to really think about what the question is really trying to get at, and provide as in-depth a response as I can, because boy, you know, when I'm living this all day, every day for year after year, it becomes easy to overlook some of the detail stuff that I've thought about, you know, 18 months ago, or, you know,
sure.
that we've had in development, and it's sort of running in the background. So it's very important for me to hear the kinds of things that everybody's wondering about, and to be able to talk to it. It's a lot of fun.
Isn't
Absolutely.
that funny how, like, in life, you know, if you do something often, doesn't matter what industry you're in or what you do as a hobby, like, you might know something really well, like the back of your hand, and sometimes we all get caught up in our own heads thinking that everyone else knows exactly what we know. And I often find myself thinking that way sometimes. So
Exactly.
glad I'm not the only one.
Well, great. So we have a new speaker up, Mama Bear K. Welcome to the stage.
Hi there. Um, I just had a quick question for you. As far as the clothing line and things like that, do you think that down the road you're going to have anything that, you know, how you can wear like the pink ribbon for fundraising, or me, I'm huge into domestic violence and trafficking. Do you think that you'll be able to integrate anything with that, like as far as displaying what you represent? Does that make sense? Sorry if that didn't make too much sense.
That absolutely made sense. I know exactly what you're getting at, and thank you. So yes, we have some really. I'm thinking of a number of systems that we've got for doing that, but it will be fairly easy to be able to add in. This is when I was saying meshes.
Mm.
Um, that's kind of a term of art. So it will be fairly easy to add in those type of pieces. So you'd be able to wear, for example, a ribbon
Mhm.
on your avatar. We've also got an integrated what I call a social center, So people, you'll be able to right click and get information about other users that they want you to know.
Oh,
And we've got a whole system of badging. So you'll be able to have, in addition to your name, users would be able to see a badge. So my badge right now says staff, right? But it really could say anything. And
mhm.
so you'll be able to change these badges if you want to do a fundraiser, for example, and we do that often in our classic system. I'm very proud of our classic community at how much money they raise for various causes and raise awareness for causes. And so we've empowered this system to be able to do those types of things as well, the charity, but also the badging, and you'll be able to get, going through our operations, our world operations, we could get official recognition for an event or for a weekend, or these types of things. So um, all of those options, and I'm sure there's more that I'm missing, but definitely easily customizable and designed so that you can be expressive.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time on that and your answer. I don't know, I get so stoked thinking about a safe place for everyone to be, to support who they want to support, to be who they want to be, and just expressing that. So thanks so much for all you're doing.
And that really is such a huge motivator for me, because it's exactly what you say. Having a safe place where people can be who they want to be, they can be expressive. If there's disagreements, then there are tools to be able to separate, and not have to deal with griefing, or sort of this algorithmic anger, the way that I like to put it, but really to uplift people, to empower the community, to help each other, and um, to live our best lives. I think that there are, I, I don't want to be so black and white, but two ways to make yourself feel good. One is to put other people down, and one is to lift other people up. Um, and in the long run, lifting other people up, boy, that's how, for sure, I feel good. And I know that most people are that way. And to empower a community to be able to help each other, lift each other up, be there to support, even if they're spread out all over the world. It's a way to connect with people. It's a way to understand that people all have the same fears and concerns and hopes. And you know, if we help each other in times of hardship, and we get helped in times of hardship, boy, what could bond people better than that? And that really is my hope for the metaverse.
Absolutely. And my last thing, I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to
No
take you
problem.
outside. I my last thing is, I've asked many projects about this and nobody's ever kind of understood what I'm saying or ever wanted to integrate it. But I would love to see, first of all, you're already talking about having a safe place, a safe space where everyone is, understanding and things like that. My question is, do you think it would ever be possible for there to be a way for these, me? Okay, I'm a DV survivor. I'm in hiding. I have a 199-year protection order with me and my children against my ex. We've had to
Right.
move a lot. Okay, so that's my real world safety, right? I make sure I know where things are, blah, blah, blah. But if I'm on Discord or I'm in the metaverse, is there a way that you can ever put it to where if I'm in there, I can click out and be, do you know what I mean? Be done and
Yes.
quick. So I would love to see that integrated. I've tried to explain this to other people and they're just kind of blow me off on it, but it's big. It's a big deal.
Well, this is where I mean, not, yours is a narrow example of this broader concept where I look at my team and I look at myself and I say, having had all of this 18 years of operational experience and tens of millions of users, we've developed our systems for world operations. It's a division of the company. For world justice as a division of the company. And there are a lot of so many cases that have come up that have taught us how to manage a community in this way where people can feel safe, where they can feel protected, but they also can experience excitement and edginess and push their own boundaries. And it really is a matter of giving you as a user the tools right at your fingertips to be able to craft the experience that you feel is appropriate for you. And we have built those tools in. You'll see, if you don't want somebody to be able to know when you're online, you will be able to control that, so they'll never know when you're online or not online, where they'll never be able to contact you, and they'll never see your avatar. You'll never end up in a region where they are. And of course, you'll be able to change those settings. You know, Lots of thought has gone into how to get the best of all worlds here, so that you have the freedom. Everybody's got freedom, but you also can protect yourself, and you don't have to put up with things that are particularly disturbing. So I know exactly what you're saying. We won't be perfect, but we will continue to improve, and we have given it a lot of thought and built those systems.
Mama Bear, I hope that answered your question and more. And thank you again for being here today. And we love having you around and always getting your feedback.
Yeah, Mama Bear, part of a few communities we're in, and we've been a part of for a long time. So, multi-community member right there. Thank you so much, Mama Bear, for that question and for those questions. Brian, thank you so much for doing this with us. We're gonna do this one more time. If it's coming to the hour, so we're gonna ask you guys one more time. If anyone has any more questions that you want to ask Brian, please feel free. Come on up. We're gonna be here for a little bit to the hour, maybe a little bit past the hour. So please come up, ask your questions. If not, we can farm it for next time. Now that we have a live product, we'll be doing this much more often. So please go ahead, join now, or we can save it for the next round.
Yeah, and if nobody does join, I do have a question from our Discord asked right now by Heather G. So shout out to Heather. I see you down there in the crowd. Heather G asks an interesting question. She says, will the avatar have to only be in human form? For example, if I'm an antique boat enthusiast and I can prove I own a Riva Ariston, could this be my avatar?
Well, yes. I mean, I've never described it as boat, but I have described it as car world. So the idea here is our metaverse, the one that we're building, and the one that we're testing, is designed to be a photorealistic human avatar environment. But the system is so dynamic that we've intentionally built it so that if you want to build a different kind of world, you want to build a different type of metaverse, that metaverse can accommodate whatever type of avatar or no avatars that the creator wants to inhabit it with. Now, you can imagine that this could create some problems. So the way that I often describe this is I say, they are not a client. I should preface it by saying that, not yet anyway. But if Harvard University wants to offer classes in the metaverse, everybody around the world could get a Harvard level education, probably cost you $1 for a course, and this will educate people around the world with world-class education. It should lift countries out of poverty, do real good around the world. But Harvard may say, we only want human avatars. And you may be off in, boat world, where, everybody is an avatar is a boat. In order to go to Harvard, you would pass through a permissions layer. And at the permissions layer, it would say, Harvard doesn't accept a boat avatar, but either you already have an avatar for the Harvard metaverse, or you would need to create one. And here are the parameters. So you'd select an avatar, you already have one, and then from then on, you would be able to click back and forth between those two worlds, and you would automatically transition from one avatar to another. So really the way that I look at this is people will have all kinds of personas, and people will have all kinds of avatars depending on how they want to engage, where they want to engage, what they want to experiment and explore with. You know, what's for recreation, what's for, you know, business, what's for family, and you'll be able seamlessly to transition through all of these types of what we technically can call access control layers, so that you have the experience that you want to have. So, you know, the short answer would be, in the Utherverse world, aside from special events like Halloween, we won't be allowing people to have avatars that are not humanoid, at least. But on the platform, there are really no restrictions. So it'll be whatever people can come up with, whatever the free market decides they want to enjoy. You know, who am I to say no?
Amazing. Thank you for that, Brian. And oh yeah, what's up to Death Division, by the way? He's our security manager. What's up, Death?
Welcome up,
Hey
Dad.
guys, thank you so much. How y'all doing?
Hey, did
Good, bud. Good. Welcome in. Welcome up. Welcome in.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brian. You've done an amazing job, honestly. Love being here. Hi, I'm Death Division. I'm the security dev behind the others in the Discord. So always make sure we keep each other safe. I do just say we do have another pretty decent question from Heather, actually. She dropped it early on. She's wondering, how is Utherverse going to handle the challenging and complicated state of using Web3 wallet connects? Which I guess is a pretty interesting one for those that aren't fully dove into the Web3 world and understand all about, you know, Ethereum wallets and MetaMask wallets. How is the connection for that going to go?
Right. So that is definitely complicated, and I want to preface this by saying you will not have to connect to a cryptocurrency wallet in order to be able to access and enjoy Otherverse. We're going to do some things on your behalf. So, you know, we will have a token. That token is going to be used for commerce throughout the platform, really for system payments, and either to or from the user. But our system has been really carefully designed so that it will all of a sudden be very, very easy for anybody who's unfamiliar with crypto, or if you're a crypto expert, and I'm including Bitcoin in crypto. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, and I know that it can sometimes bother people when you lump those two things together. But for the sake of this answer, I'll just say all crypto, right, including Bitcoin. There's going to be a two-layer system. One system is internally within the metaverse. You'll be able, just like you can on the classic system, you'll have an account. That account will be maintained on what is called an internal ledger. So we privately will maintain that account for you, and you will have funds in that account, which can include cryptocurrency funds. And you'll easily be able to send those to other users. Other users will be able to send those to you. They won't go out to the blockchain. It'll just be an internal transaction that will be accounted for on our internal ledger. And this is our way of being able to protect the community. You know, if you hire a wedding planner, for example, and the wedding planner just doesn't show up, you'll be able to go to our World Justice Department and say, look, this happened. They can verify it, they can reverse the funds, and you're protected. But then there's the whole Web3 layer outside of our metaverse. You will be able to easily, within the browser, have a wallet that will connect. Essentially, there's some details that I'm skipping because I just don't want to spend 2 hours answering technical stuff or describing technical stuff. But there will be you'll have access to a wallet which will allow you to transact on the blockchain layer. and you won't really need to do much at all. You won't need to have much knowledge of the blockchain layer at all to do this. But if somebody requires a payment, for example, that cannot be reversed, that they don't want Utherverse looking over their shoulder for anything, they want privacy, anonymity, our token will also live on the blockchain, and you will be able to transact with a built-in wallet, an external wallet, and you'll be able to make these transactions natively in the Web3 space. So again, we've thought this through in a way where we say, how do we protect our users that want the protection, but how do we also make it so that the users can have complete privacy without us being involved at all? And it's a fairly technically complicated solution from our side, but it ends up being very simple on the end user side. So you'll just automatically see when you log in once we've activated this, the token isn't minted, and this is not going to be in the initial closed beta. But once the Web3 components are activated, you'll have this internal ledger wallet, what we would call a custodial account, and you'll be able to just make payments back and forth, and those will have protection. And then if you want to transact outside the system or transact from outside the system into this system, you'll just be able to do that. And then it's a fully native Web3 that we've designed to be very simple.
That's honestly amazing. I love that answer. And coming from someone that's very deep into the degen world, I like how you've gone for both sides of it. You've gone for those that aren't super deep into Web3. You've got the protection, security, and easy access. And those that are like myself that, love just going left, right, and center, and also want a bit more privacy as to why we go Web3. We want that decentralization. So to actually still honor that and have that available, that's amazing. I love that.
Thanks.
And I just got to say on this as well, the tokenomics for the coin, you've done amazing. If you guys haven't already, go to the website, check out the tokenomics for Utherverse. Like, it's insane. It's actually in the video up the top of the Jumbotron. There's a little bit going over it in that video as well. So definitely check that out. But like, you can tell that they've thought about this, and not just for a short amount of time, but for a decent period of time as well. I look at that many different coins on a daily basis, and these tokenomics are seriously nothing like I've seen for a fair old while. So that's why I'm very, very impressed by these tokenomics.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
No worries. I was just going to say, while we're on that, quick one on this topic is Sci-Fi Man is just wondering, for Uthercoin, would you be able to mine it with like NiceHash software, or is it a non-mineable coin?
Yeah, it's going to be a pre-mined coin, so there won't be mining. Although I'm not convinced that I'm not convinced of what the future holds. But our focus at this point, primarily on the metaverse side of the software development, and we thought it's easier for us not to develop our own layer one or so we've got a lot of support from some very solid layer one projects. So we just opted for the pre-mined.
It's honestly better. Like, mining is a lot more added. It's a lot more stuff that you don't need. Like, it's a lot more hassle, and it's a bit iffy on tokenomics as well. So it just makes it all a little more.
I will
crazy.
say this though, you will be able to earn it from participating in Utherverse activities. So in that sense, you're almost, I mean, you wouldn't be able to throw a bunch of hardware at it to mine, but there's definitely a play to earn component. So, just like we have done in the classic system, when users engage with the system, when they engage with each other, when they do things that are social, logging in, for example, and spending some time and interacting with other users, they're going to be compensated. And this is what I meant when I say system payments to your wallet account. Those will happen on the internal ledger, but you would be able to cash those out, of course, to the blockchain.
No, that's amazing, and it's probably better going that play to win way instead of just mining, because it then becomes a matter of who's got money. If I have enough money to buy a crazy mining setup, I'm obviously going to get more than the next person that might not have the same amount of funds. And if we're going for a universal balance system, this is definitely a better way to go about it. So you've really thought of all the little nick crooks and nannies, and I'm very, very happy with this. Mad props, big props.
Fantastic.
Awesome, great questions, y'all. Great questions. RC. So we're just a little bit past the hour. I guess we could probably wrap things up unless anyone has any more questions here.
And of course, I'm going to be doing a town hall in our classic system before we go live, and I'm sure I'll be answering more questions as we go forward. So there's ample opportunity.
Absolutely, and as we ramp up, as we progress, I'm sure we could possibly get Brian up here, wrestle him up here one more time before and after we go live. So, not to worry, Brian is around, our founder and creator of Utherverse. A little call to action for you guys. There's some questions here about how you can be involved in the beta. If you want to be involved in the closed beta right now, go to our Discord. The link is in both of our bios up top, and join the Discord and look for apply for season 2. That's going to get you all the access you need behind the lines that we already have in place for closed beta. You're gonna have to put a little bit of information, and we'll get with you. The team will get with you on that and let you know where you're at on that.
And for our trunk holders that are already holders of the others FNFT, as well as people who've registered to be on the closed beta whitelist, we have a mega drop coming for you real soon, the next week. And so stay tuned. We got a bunch of info coming your way, and just be patient, but be excited because we've got some info coming really soon.
Yep, huge news. All right, thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you, Brian Shuster. Give it up, clap it up for Brian Shuster one time. Thank you guys so much.
And for Jake.
Yeah.
And everybody. Thank you all.
You got it. And then, very, very good. We will see you guys very soon. If you are trying to join that whitelist, please do so. Follow the instructions in our Discord. We'll see you guys soon.
Apply for Stage 2 channel. And if you want more info, the Stage 2 info channel has a lot of great info too. I'm going to leave you with some music. And I hope everyone has a great night and a great weekend.
Yep. You're ending. Days are ending.
Okay now, well thank you for watching my video, or watching my stream. Please go to those links, follow me, click on them, hit that knob to get more info about what I do, hit that knob. So thank you again for watching my stream, and I will see you next time. Bye now.
Alright, and I'll see everyone later.